Welcome to a training video on how to prepare Barbados National Insurance refunds in PayPak Professional 4.0. NIS refunds will be done in cases where employees go on sick leave, are paid in full by the employer, receive sickness benefit checks from National Insurance, and give the checks to the employer as refunds against the amounts already paid. Because the Barbados Revenue Authority already records such benefit payments as employee income, the employer must subtract the amount of each check from each employee's gross pay before submitting tax returns for the particular pay period. So let's log in and show you how it's done. Now, on my list here, I have 4 checks for 3 employees. One employee has 1, another employee has 1, and one employee has 2. For various amounts representing checks they would have received in the month of November. These amounts must now be entered as NIS refunds that have been handed in by the employees, and they need to be processed. So let's sign in. And the first thing you want to do is check to see that you have a pay rate set up for NIS refunds. So let's go to Records, Pay Rates. I will normally use NIS REF. Right, and there it is, it's set up already. However, if you want to check, you can browse to make sure, because if you don't see it in your list, if you don't see one in your list of pay rates, you can add one. So if you did not see one, just add one. All you need is the ID and a description. There's no rate necessary. And save it and you're good to go. Another thing I would suggest is if you have more than one payroll set, some customers may have a weekly payroll set and a monthly payroll set, or they may have 2 weekly payroll sets or more. You may have stores, 3 stores across the island, and you have 3 payroll sets for each, 1 for each store. When the NIS refunds come in and they have to be processed as a batch, and that batch, of course, each batch is linked to a payroll set. So if you have only 1 payroll set, it's not an issue because everything can be assigned to that 1 payroll set. However, you can have a case where you have a number of checks for a particular period for employees who belong to different payroll sets. And you might find it easier to create a separate payroll set to handle the NIS refunds so that they're recorded together all in one place and you don't have to split or spread them across multiple payroll sets. So let me just show you how that would work. NIS REF, and I put NIS refunds, and I will use my bank as the clearing account here, and I will just save that. And frequency, it needs no frequency, it can be any. So I will just save this, and that payroll set will be used to process the NIS refunds. As I said, it's not strictly necessary. In a case where I have so many other payroll sets, I just want to be able to place, for example, I've got monthly Oistins and monthly Watton. I've also got weekly Oistins and weekly Watton. So I prefer to create 1 NIS refunds so that as the payments are entered, I can add the employees to that NIS refunds and keep them in there. So that's the first 2 things you need: the pay rate and optionally a payroll set for NIS refunds. It's a very straightforward process and it involves creating a batch. Now these 4 checks were received during the month of November, so I'm going to create a new batch for November. and I'm going to new batch. I will use the 30th of November as my batch date. The earning dates for the entries can be the 30th as well. I'll leave it that way for as the default. However, you could enter a separate earning date for each check, so that in this case I have one check received on the 3rd, another on the 9th, and then there are two which were received on the 10th of November. And for your own records, you may want to be able within the payroll to keep track of when these checks were received. If it is helpful to you to do that, then you can set the earning dates for each one, which I will be doing during the course of this demo. Otherwise, you can leave them all as one date, so long as they fall into the particular month for the tax return for November in this case. Now, the batch reference, I will put NIS refunds. Okay. And then the payroll set, in this case, I'm going to choose NIS refunds. Now, I could have also chosen a weekly payroll set, say a weekly payroll set for Oystins, and then these are the employees from that payroll set, and I could have chosen the employees from here, removing the ones that I don't need. In this case, however, we'll go with the newly created one, NIS refunds, and we're not applying any taxes, we're not applying any deductions. That's very important. Now, to add the employees, I'm going to click on add. My frequency can stay as weekly. That really doesn't matter in this case. I'm going to pick from a payroll set. Actually, I could also pick from employees, but let's pick from a payroll set, and let's say now I know that these folks are in the payroll set called bonus. I know that all of them are in there because when the bonus batch was prepared, a payroll set was created for everyone, so I know that everyone is in here. So if I choose this payroll set, which contains 39 people, I can just pick the ones that I want. So I want Patricia Grant, who's here. Turn these off. I want John Hill, who's here. And I have two for Luke Down, so let's just choose him once. And we add. So I have 3. Now I need another one for Luke Downs. So I'm going to add again. This time I can choose from the batch and select Luke Downs and turn these off again. And I add again. So I now have my 4 entries representing the 4 checks. Now I wish to change the dates here. I could have also done it later after the batch was created, but I choose to do it now. Luke Downs got his first check on the 9th. He got his other check. Actually, I thought that was the 10th, but it's actually the 16th. On the 16th. Patricia Grant got hers on the 3rd. And John Hill, he got his on the 10th. Good. So I now have my dates. That's the dates that the checks were in. As I said before, you don't have to do this if you're short on time. You have a lot of entries to put through. You don't particularly care what the date was that the check was received. I've done so because I have a small number. Also for the benefit of those who may want to enter the dates or track the dates the checks were received. I say yes, and batch number 200 has been successfully created. Now, the next thing you would do is edit that batch just as you would edit any normal batch. Now it says here NS refunds, and it has $7,000 as the gross pay. Now let's edit that batch and take a closer look at it. And everyone has 0 except Patricia Grant. Now the reason for this is these three the two that have zero, Luke Downs and John Hill, they're weekly paid employees. They do not have a preset quantity in their employee profile. You would normally put the hours in for them. Whereas Patricia Grant is a monthly paid person with monthly rates set up for her. So what we're going to do is edit these entries. So let's go for Luke Downs. We go to his gross pay. There's already in his profile a line set up for NS refunds. If there wasn't, we could have added a line or changed a line to say NS refunds. Okay, but there's a line already, so we'll use that. All you need to do, set the quantity to 1 and set the rate to the amount of the check as a minus figure. So for Luke Downs, his first check was minus 877.46. That comes up as the total, and we save it. Then his next entry for the 16th, again 1, and the amount of that check was $750, so we put minus 750 and we save. Next person is Patricia Grant. Now this is her line for the NS refund, but she also has lines in here of quantities. I could delete those lines, or I could just quickly put zeros as the quantity, and that will close them out, zero them out. Her NS refund, the amount for her is $1,050, which goes as minus 1050, 1050, right? $1,050, and we save that. And finally, we have John Hill and his NS refund, quantity of 1, and his amount was minus $2,997.50, $2,997.50, and we save that. Now, at this point, what you should do is tally your checks up, make sure that they agree with this total. The batch should have no taxes or deductions coming out of it, just the amounts of the checks. And at this point, we can now post the batch, except for one thing. If I try to post it, there are problems. And the problem is that these are negative net pay amounts, which by default, PayPal will not allow you to post negative net pay. To get around that, you need to go to Tools, Program Options, and allow a negative net pay by ticking this on temporarily. We're going to turn it on only to allow the NS refunds to be posted, and as soon as we're finished, we'll turn it back off. So I'm going to save it. I go to the screen. Now I should hit refresh. I need to hit refresh to update this screen with the changes that have been made. One other thing before we post, if you had wanted to record the NIS check number for whatever reason in the batch, you could have done it here. You could have come here and put number whatever, right, as the check number if you so needed to do. But that's it. It's optional, so I'll just save that, and now we can post the batch. Post. Now you get the prompt again that there are 4 entries with 0 or negative net pay entries, but this time it asks you, do you still want to post this batch? Yes, we do. We say yes. Okay. You get your reminder to do your backups, and here we are. So that batch is now posted. Always remember, come back, turn off the allow negative net pay, and save your entry so that things are set back to normal. Now, the next step for you basically would be when you come to do your PAYE upload. That NIS, those NIS negative figures would be subtracted from the gross pay for that particular pay period. I'm not going to run that or include that in the demo right now, but that's how it would work. It would pick that total up. You'd make sure that when you come to do your Barbados PAYE upload, that the NS refund pay rate is included under probably the standard pay. That's where it should go actually. Just let me show you the for Barbados PAYE upload. Here we go. And if I chose in the month of 2021 November, this is the NS refund there. Okay, and it's marked as standard pay. Okay, and once you do your calculation, everything will be fine. If I display now, well, I don't have any other batches for the month of November at the moment in this demo batch, but if I did, these amounts of total remuneration would be the normal gross pay minus the refunds, and that's how it works. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure as always, and do look out for the next training video from PayPak Professional 4.0. Thank you and take care.